If you've watched any of the videos on this channel, then you can probably tell that I'm a pretty big fan of Doom and games made on the Doom engine. What you probably don't know is that despite the fact that I'm quite literally obsessed with a game that came out before I was even born, my favorite genre of games is actually roguelikes. If you were to judge how much I like a genre of games based solely on the number of hours played, then roguelikes easily take the cake as my favorite genre. Games like Cataclysm Dark Days Ahead, Enter the Gungeon, and The Binding of Isaac have all consumed countless hours of my life. Now, don't let that fool you though. My sweet, sweet beloved Doom will always have a place in my heart, but sometimes I just wish there was a game that combined the two. Oh. This is Doom Infinite, a total conversion mod for the GZ Doom version of Doom 2. This mod takes the typical run and gun gameplay from the first two Doom games and puts it in a Risk of Rain style roguelike, complete with your typical unlockables, challenges, and power-ups. And right off the bat, I feel like there's a couple of things we need to get out of the way before we do a deeper dive on this game. First off, there is a lot of content in this mod, and I mean a lot. I've played more than my fair share of impressive Doom mods, and this one might just take the cake in terms of sheer volume and content to explore. I mean, there's just so much stuff here, I really don't know where to begin. There's new weapons, enemies, redesigned levels, a hub area, 3 separate difficulties, achievements, challenges, game modifiers, and a ton of other stuff to cover here. Second, this mod is hard, and I mean like really hard. I've said before that I typically like to play my Doom mods on ultraviolence or higher because I enjoy a challenging game from time to time, but this mod is so unbelievably difficult that it might as well have curb stomped me and then went to my house to take a dump on my bed. Finally, this mod is a demo. You heard me right, a demo. This mod, which has enough content for you to easily dump 50 to 100 hours into, is still being developed and is currently only a sliver of its fullest potential. The developers have been working on this thing non-stop since it came out and don't show any signs of slowing down. In fact, literally as I was writing the script for this video, the game won ModDB's Cacoward Award for Best Gameplay, and then the developers immediately posted screenshots of the new and improved mapping system, which is going to completely overhaul the entire look and feel of the game. Okay, that was a lot to throw at you right off the bat, but I feel like it was necessary for me to get all that out in order to emphasize just how insane this mod actually is. There's really nothing else like it as far as Doom mods go. So let's just start from the beginning. After downloading the mod and loading it up in GZ Doom, you're brought to the game's main menu. Here you can look at your high scores for previous runs or start up a new game. And there's even a friendly little imp here who tells you which settings you need to change in order to play the mod optimally. And I think this is a really nice addition. It can often be really confusing for new players to figure out how to work Doom mods for the first time, so I thought this was a helpful little thing to have. When you're ready to start a new game, there's a couple of options for you to choose. Starting from the bottom, you can select a boon, which can be unlocked while playing to give you helpful bonuses for your run, and there's also optional challenges you can do to try and unlock some additional content, similar to how challenges were done in The Binding of Isaac. For difficulty, you either have training, normal, or hard. Now, training disables all achievements and unlocks, so I didn't really bother with this one. I figured I would just try a couple games on normal difficulty just to get the feel for things before I moved on to my preferred difficulty in hard mode. I would quickly learn just how wrong I was about this, and I see now that I was forced to suffer from my hubris. So you play a quick tutorial and then get thrown headfirst into the meat of the game. Doom Infinite follows your typical roguelike formula. You're thrown into the hub area and given a random perk and weapon to use before making your way through one of the game's classic Doom maps. There's a good variety of maps here that you'll recognize from base Doom, and each run changes the layout of each map slightly, so they never feel overly similar on subsequent runs. Your goal for each map is to kill enough demons to acquire enough souls so that you can exit the map, all while running around and collecting various keys and pressing buttons in typical Doom fanfare. The catch is that enemies are constantly spawning in as you play, and I mean constantly. It never stops, and you will rarely go more than 3 seconds without firing a shot. On top of this, enemies now also have different variants, which are basically just buffed versions of themselves. They can have regenerating health, a shield that reflects projectiles, a homing aura, or they can be covered in this annoying black smoke that makes it impossible to see anything and everything that's in front of you, plus several more. There's also a couple of new enemies on offer as well, like these weird flesh totem things that just sort of stand there and apply negative status effects to you. As I said earlier, you'll quickly recognize all the maps in the game as staples from the series, with Doom classics like Hangar and Hellkeep making an appearance. The levels all change slightly in between runs, so that each time you enter a level, you'll find small aspects of the environment are different. Level hazards like poison pits might change their location throughout the map, or they might just disappear altogether, or perhaps that path you took last time you were here no longer exists. Several new hazards have been added as well, with things like floor spikes, giant moving blades, and explosive sigils scattered about. And I hope you've brushed up on your map knowledge from Doom 1 and 2, because all the secrets in this game are in the same spots they're in vanilla Doom. So don't be like me and forget where all of them are and spend 30 minutes running around the map trying to find that one hidden wall that you're pretty sure is somewhere on the map. Additionally, weapon placements will be randomized, and a location that gave you a god tier weapon on an earlier run might now hold just a normal pistol. Speaking of new weapons, many of the guns you'll find throughout your playthrough will now come with their own unique modifiers and quirks to make them feel unique. Some good, some bad. You might find a weapon with an increased damage modifier or one with super high recoil. A lot of times you'll find weapons with both good and bad modifiers, which forces you to weigh whether or not a weapon is worth taking. Like for example, you might find a rocket launcher with homing on it, but it also consumes additional ammo every time it's fired. There's a ton of different combinations here, and the game offers no explanation to what any of them do, so you're encouraged to experiment to figure them out. You might pick up a shotgun and find out it shoots explosive pellets, or grab a pistol that shoots rockets. Or you can find something that's terrible, like a grenade launcher that constantly jams, or a Gatling gun that fires balls of blood instead of bullets. On top of that, there's also a system here for modifying weapons you currently have. While you're playing through a level, you'll come across mod packs that will allow you to upgrade your weapons once you've found enough. These upgrades range from simple things like improved damage or shot speed to more creative upgrades like changing what kind of projectiles your gun fires or adding alternate fire modes for things like temporary shields or grenade launchers. And just like the weapon modifiers, there's a lot of different combinations to be found here. There's also a couple of new weapons for you to find during your playthrough, like the sniper cannon, which fires a 4-shot burst of bullets that can absolutely devastate demons' health bars and kind of reminds me of the chain gun cannon from Duke Nukem. And then there's also a grenade launcher, which does exactly what you think it does, firing explosive projectiles that can bounce around the environment, damaging demons as well as yourself. And if that wasn't enough to change up gameplay for you, there's also a whole host of new perks and abilities that you can acquire as you play, all of which can be acquired by breaking open chests that you find littered around the hub area and sometimes during the levels themselves. Some of these are pretty standard and can do things like increase your damage or movement speed. Others might force you to change up your playstyle a bit, like flesh armor, which takes away all of your armor points but gives you increased health and makes armor heal you. Some are just straight up really good, like these little drone fellas that follow you around and shoot stuff for you, or the perks that allow you to passively regenerate ammo as you play. Then there's perks that are a bit more situational, like Radium, which damages enemies around you but slowly drains your health, or the Soap, which upgrades your health and damage permanently for every enemy you kill with melee. And then of course there's some that are just plain bad, like this one that literally just makes you bleed until you die. But wait, there's more. There's some perks that only take effect once you beat a level, like the Cigarettes, which boost your luck but lower your max HP for every level you finish, or the Ring of Entropy, which boosts all of your stats but breaks after just 4 levels. Oh, and don't forget about the active abilities too, which are spells that you can use on a cooldown to do things like smite enemies, turn invisible briefly, give you quad damage, or summon friendly lost souls to help you out.
There's also abilities that increase your movement speed.
There's abilities that Whoa, okay. That's a lot of stuff to keep track of. So thankfully, the game comes with a built-in guide to help you keep track of any unlocked perks and abilities that you find, and tells you a little bit about what each one does, along with a short little lore blurb. It's not always entirely helpful though, as some of the descriptions can be a bit confusing or misleading, sometimes intentionally so. Like this skull amulet I found. The description says that using it kills all living things in a radius around the player. So naturally, I tried to use it and killed all living things, including myself. Which brings me to my next point. You will die in this game. A lot. Like, a lot. You'll get shot by zombie men, killed with projectiles, crushed by traps, blown up by your own explosions, etc, etc. The constant onslaught of enemies and traps means that you're usually only a few misclicks away from death, and as I said earlier, this game is really hard. The enemies outdamage you by a lot here, meaning that you're constantly struggling to stay afloat in a sea of demons who are way tougher than you are. On top of that, killing enemies and spending time at a level increases your curse meter. Every time it levels up, all the demons get stronger, meaning that every demon you kill only strengthens their allies. I played on the normal difficulty and completely got my ass handed to me. I've been playing Doom mods for a very, very long time, and while I'm far from the best player out there, I didn't expect to get absolutely bodied as hard as I did. And the hard difficulty is even worse, with increased enemy health and damage, and fewer pickups throughout. I don't normally like to make videos about games or mods without beating them, but considering I've put a decent enough amount of hours into this mod and haven't really been able to get a level streak higher than 5, I decided to make an exception, which is really just a testament to how much stuff there is to do in this mod. I've been playing it non-stop for the past few weeks, and I know I've only just scratched the surface of all the content that's on offer here. I didn't even get a chance to really play around with the challenges or boon systems at all yet because I've just been so preoccupied playing the base game. Hell, I haven't even had a chance to talk about the game's hub area. Speaking of which, it's time to talk about Limbo. No, not that Limbo. This Limbo. This area serves as your main hub in between levels. After you beat a level, you get transported back here where you can grab a new perk and some supplies before heading back in. You can also explore all of the side areas here for extra loot. Just like the levels themselves, these areas are constantly changing in between runs and typically consist of little challenges that can offer you some supplies if you beat them. No two rooms are ever the same, and the loot they give you is completely random. Sometimes you'll be rewarded with a new weapon or ability, and sometimes you'll just get a couple of bullets or a medkit. There's also two optional challenge rooms here, which are a lot like the side areas in Limbo, except much harder. They cost 50 souls to enter, but if you manage to survive, you'll usually be rewarded with a new perk or helpful power-up like a megasphere. They're a great way of getting some much-needed power increases between levels, but these rooms can often be super challenging or can easily just kill you outright. Like these rooms that have these eyes that damage you if you walk in their line of sight, which I am really bad at, by the way, and this one where you have to walk across these thin beams to grab a chest before carefully making your way back, all while these two statues shoot homing fireballs at you that damage you and knock you off the beam, resetting your progress. These are not fun little side areas for you to explore at your leisure. These are legitimate gambles that can and will end your run if you're not careful. In fact, I'm pretty sure I died just as many times attempting these challenges as I did playing through the actual levels. There's also a few side areas here that need to be unlocked with these infinity tokens that you can find during your runs. These can open previously blocked off rooms full of powerful weapons and abilities. These tokens are super rare though, so you probably shouldn't waste them opening doors that you think will stay open for subsequent runs that will actually just lock up again after you die. You should instead use them to open the shop where you can find Revi, the friendly revenant shopkeeper who will sell you equipment in between runs in exchange for souls. Unlocking him makes the game much easier, as you now actually have a use for all the souls you've been collecting outside of just using them to open the optional challenges. I'm not sure why the shop isn't open from the beginning. Maybe the developers just wanted you to suffer for a bit before they let off the gas, but considering how hard it is to find the items needed to actually unlock the shop, I kind of wish it was just open from the start, because having an actual use for your souls really does make this game so much easier. Plus, you can play the slot machine here, and who doesn't love a bit of gambling? And after this, you pretty much just head back into the levels to kill more demons, unlock more stuff, and try to get as far as you possibly can before dying. Rinse and repeat ad nauseum until you manage to unlock everything the game has to offer, or until you just get bored. This is one of those games you can easily sink a ton of hours into without even realizing it. You'll sit down and play for a couple hours, telling yourself that you'll do just one more run before stopping, and the next thing you know, it's 3 a.m. and you haven't eaten in 12 hours. You just can't help but go back in for another run so that you can kill a bunch of demons with your newly unlocked abilities and go looking for new weapons hidden behind secret walls. All the custom weapons, perks, and environments look really well made and fit in really well with the style of the earlier Doom games. The whole thing just feels great to play and really scratches that roguelike itch pretty nicely. And like I said earlier, this mod is only a demo for a much more fleshed out game the devs have planned for the future, and I don't doubt that they plan on adding a ton of new features, weapons, and abilities to the game as they go along. Plus, there's that new environment retexture I showed earlier that looks super cool and that I'm really excited for. If this type of game interests you at all, then go play it. Even in its current state, it's absolutely worth your time and something I would recommend both to Doom veterans and fans of roguelikes in general. It's also free, so what have you got to lose other than your time? As always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing and maybe leaving me a like or a comment down below to let me know what you think. I really do appreciate it. This video got a little delayed with the holidays and me having a bit of food poisoning the past couple weeks, but I'm hoping to get cracking on some more videos really soon. So stick around if you're interested, and I hope to see you again soon.